great news with you. And I know I led with the whole ABC stars. And it's true. Trump basically, he just, it's such a great story. But I not only have that for you folks, I have another story because a federal prosecutor just got endorsed by 100 people in the government, one of Trump's people. I'll explain what I mean by that. Also, I've got a tremendous write-up out of all places, USA Today, where they're admitting that Trump is basically winning, okay? And people would be voting for him all over again, and he would beat Kamala and Joe. I've got another thing on tariffs that you have got to hear. Trump is winning. Don't buy this fake stream, lame stream media stuff, folks, because I'm telling you, the wins he's racking up right now are epic. So do me a favor, smash that like if you would. Chat in with where you're from. Love to see who's on the stream. Carrie, good to see you on. I see Jackie on. A bunch of folks. I saw people from Florida, Idaho, all over this great land we call America. And I'm sure some people from Great Britain will be joining because they always do. And Australia and all over the world. We're international here at Lumberjack Logic. Okay, folks, I got to mention my sponsor really quickly. You guys know Birch Gold, okay? But I mentioned this before. But in July, there is a global summit of BRICS nations in Rio de Janeiro. This bloc of countries includes China, Russia, India, and Iran. They're meeting with the goal of displacing the dollar as the global currency. They're calling this the Rio Reset. Okay, BRICS nations are pushing forward with their plans, and it's going to cause, at least to some degree, folks, we don't know the full impact yet, but global demand for U.S. dollars decreasing. And look, do you remember when Joe Biden went all in on economic sanctions with Putin, and then Putin went to gold standard, and the Russian ruble did just fine? Remember that? Okay, so this is, I'm telling you, when Nixon decoupled us from the dollar, we've lost now 87% of the dollar's value since then. My gold has been doing great. I get Birch Gold is the company I trust right now to get your gold from. They've been around for a while. You can get either physical coins that you just have in your house. You can get stuff and turn it into a tax-sheltered IRA. Okay, but just text Lumberjack to 989-898 to get your free info kit on gold. Okay, A+ rating for the Better Business. Why do you think they call it the gold standard, folks? Okay, but this article is so awesome. I got this out of the National Pulse. They're ringing it up, man, today. They are killing it. ABC News major stars David Moore. Do you guys remember David Moore at the debates? And he was trying to fact check in real time Donald Trump and going all in on trying to fact check Donald Trump. Okay? And George Stephanopoulos. These are their two major stars, folks. They have been sidelined. Tonight, Donald Trump is doing an interview on ABC, but they aren't doing it. Why? This comes after the pair had major disputes with the president, including the multi-million-dollar defamation suit. Okay? And Trump's been winning those defamation suits. Instead, the network plans for Terry Moran, a senior national correspondent, to handle the primetime engagement. The move, according to sources, aims to sidestep heated histories and any accompanying drama. Okay, they don't want the drama that their stars are bringing because of their crazy liberal bias. And I will guarantee you, Terry Moran's going to be on a leash tonight because they thought, folks, this is the thing. The mainstream media is failing so badly right now. They thought that they could absolutely, completely control the narrative, keep Trump from getting elected, and they would never have to face any repercussions. They'd get him thrown in jail. That was their goal. You guys know this. That was their whole goal with Trump. They wanted to lock him up. They wanted to take away our great president that we have now who's shutting down the border when Joe Biden let it wide open. Okay, yeah, Muir is a weirdo, okay? Divine Muir. Oh, Dee, good comment there. All right. Muir, known for his role on World News Tonight, previously engaged in a partisan pushback against Trump during a presidential debate where he and Lindsey Davis attempted to aggressively fact-check the America First leader. Accusations that Muir was unbalanced in questioning emerged as the pair did not engage in the same hostile pushback against Democrat candidate Kamala Harris. And do you remember all the lies from that debate? She was lying out. It was nuts. This led Trump to label the debate as unfair and dismiss the partisan fact-checking as fake news. They tried to position that as Kamala winning the debate simply because she didn't show up like a corpse like Joe Biden. It's unbelievable. Stephanopoulos, a former Bill Clinton staffer, also faced tension with Trump following erroneous comments claiming Trump had been found civilly liable for raping E. Jean Carroll. This led to a defamation lawsuit, which was settled last year when ABC contributed $15 million towards Donald Trump's presidential library and paid an additional $1 million in legal fees. This settlement reportedly irritated Stephanopoulos, contributing to the decision to exclude him from the interview. Trump is winning even in these little battles with these mainstream media stars, because they're stars, folks. Anyways, the upcoming interview marks the end of Trump's first 100 days in his second term. During this time, the administration has enacted dozens of executive orders and tariffs on dozens of countries and slowed illegal border crossings to a halt. Folks, let me ask you a question. Serious question for the chat. Do you approve or disapprove of Trump's first 100 days? Because I heartily approve. Heartily approve. Okay? So I'm curious as to where my audience is at on that. I'm going to guess most of you are believing. I'm like 100 on this, okay? 100% I am with Trump on this. Okay, here you go. CBS News, along with former federal prosecutors for D.C., have endorsed Ed Martin as the D.C. U.S. Attorney. This is the guy who was involved in the Stop the Steal rally. This is the guy who defended J6ers. You're thinking to yourself, wait, Neil, they wouldn't endorse him. They wouldn't endorse him. Yes, because their letter saying that coming out against him, opposing him, is an endorsement, folks. Y'all get that, right? I mean, if we can get the fake mainstream media and we can get the federal prosecutors who went all in after J6ers, then you know what? That's what I call an endorsement. Wouldn't you call that an endorsement? I mean, I'm totally in on this being an endorsement. Listen to this. Nearly 100 former employees and prosecutors of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C. have signed a memo opposing Trump's nominee to lead the office. Now, I want you to notice something about this, folks. They're nearly 100 former employees. Y'all get that, right? They're former employees. Why? Because they're the swamp. And they were nixed. They got kicked out, okay? That's what's going on. So, anyhow, big deal here going on. But the memo is the latest effort by critics of acting D.C. U.S. Attorney Ed Martin to stop his Senate confirmation for the permanent role, which is among the most powerful federal prosecutor positions in the country. The letter was signed by a group of former prosecutors who served in the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office across 7 decades under administration from Lyndon B. Johnson's. Talk about deep state. They're dating all the way back to Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a complete hack. He was one of the worst presidents ever, okay? Anyhow, this is wild, all right? I just still can't get over this. All the way back through Lyndon B. Johnson. Do you guys get how ludicrous this is? I mean, what were these people 10 years old when they were serving in office? Anyhow, the memo, a copy of which was shared with CBS News, called for the rejection of Martin's nomination. So you guys know what the deal is now, right? You know what the answer to all of this is. You need to call your U.S. senators and say, we want Ed Martin approved. Ed Martin approved to be the acting D.C. U.S. attorney, okay? So that's your call to action today. Call your senators. You've got 2 of them in your state. And you say, we want Ed Martin, the acting D.C. U.S. attorney. Make sure you speed his confirmation through. Okay? Listen to this. So here's the memo, part from the memo, right? There was a time there. No, wait, it is. Okay, just hold on. I got to get my haughty voice on because these guys are all self-important guys and gals. There was a time when we all are called to stand for the full and fair administration of justice and the rule of law. They're back to the rule of law, folks. but they don't think you should take judges who are harboring illegal aliens and throw them in jail. That's the bridge too far. The rule of law. Oh, Letitia James, she shouldn't be thrown in jail for lying on federal forms, and she shouldn't be fined because that's the rule of law. These people are pathetic, okay? There's a time when we are called to stand for the full and fair administration of justice and the rule of law. For those of us who have served in the office of the United States Attorney and still have a breath, the time is now. And the message we speak is reject outright and completely the proposed nominee. Whether our message is futile or not, it is an expression of our conscience and a matter of principle that we deliver with all of our strength that we can muster. Well, the one that was in Lyndon Baines Johnson's administration probably doesn't have a lot of strength to muster. I got a super chat. I got to check this out from Tilly. Love your channel. Hey, thanks, Tilly. Thanks for the super chat. There we go. I'm going to heart that. All right. Let's see. I got to go back to the replies now. Okay. Martin began serving as interim U.S. Attorney for D.C. hours after President Trump's inauguration and was soon nominated for the Senate-confirmed post. His nomination has been a flashpoint of controversy since the beginning of the Trump administration because they say Martin lacks any prosecutorial experience. And he served as an advocate of the Stop the Steal movement, denying he's an election denier. Worked as a defense lawyer on J6 Capitol riot cases and fired some of the lawyers who prosecuted J6 defendants. Folks, I'm telling you, if this isn't the most qualified guy for this position, I don't know who is. Do you guys think Ed Martin is qualified? I mean, seriously. So here we go. Here's their problems with him. You tell me if this is qualifying or disqualifying. He served as an advocate for the Stop the Steal movement. As an election denier, he worked as a defense lawyer for J6ers, and he fired some of the lawyers who prosecuted J6 defendants. I am telling you, man, that is like a triple threat. That's a 3-bill win right there, folks. Senate Democrats have blasted Martin's selection, with Senator Adam Schiff, a first-time California Democrat, calling Martin unqualified and dangerous for the role of U.S. Attorney. Schiff has placed a hold on Martin's nomination, seeking to slow down the confirmation process. Do you know who is unqualified for his role on the Intelligence Committee? Adam Schiff. There is not a more unintelligent person out there. Schiff and other Senate Democrats have also requested the confirmation hearing be held for Martin's nomination, which, if approved, would be the first confirmation hearing for a U.S. attorney nominee in 40 years. Okay, so we've got CBS News and Adam Schiff endorsing Ed Martin. Do you know why Adam Schiff is so concerned about Ed Martin? Oh, you might be able to find something Adam Schiff wasn't actually pardoned from. All right, so on to the next thing. Listen to this. Ingrid Jacques out of USA Today said President Donald Trump is delivering on what he said he would do, and for the most part, his voters appreciate it. I covered this earlier today, folks. The polls are lying. They're off by 16 points, meaning that they are not polling people who voted for Trump by a 16-point spread and then claiming he's down by 13 points. That's lying, okay? That's election interference. That's governmental interference, okay? It is not a real and accurate poll, folks. Real polls have Trump basically running somewhere in the high 40s on approval, okay? So the fake news media is doing its job. He should be running 70% approval because nobody's done this good of a job in their first 100 days, man. And so she goes on. She says, I realize this may be a blow. Oh, Tilly, another one. Hello to everyone in the room. I'm hearting that one too. Tilly, thanks so much. That's 2 super chats in one stream. You're awesome. Thank you. I realize this may be a blow to Democrats' minds, but 100 days into President Donald Trump's second terms, most of the millions of Americans who cast their vote for him are still happy they did. I know I am. Are you guys all happy? Are you happy or sad the first 100 days in? Are you happy with Trump's performance? And Trump has not been twiddling his thumb in these first months back in the Oval Office. There's plenty to like or dislike, from his large number of executive orders to his federal cost-cutting bonanza with Tesla CEO Elon Musk. So it's telling that a recent poll shows the vast majority of Trump supporters would vote for him again now if given the opportunity for a do-over. So again, those polls that are excluding Trump voters are excluding this support, okay? And significantly more people are happy with the direction of the country now than they were before Trump took office. The gap between those who think the country is on the wrong track and those who think it's on the right track has shrank 36 points in November to fewer than 12 now. It's sank from 36 points, okay? Trump is delivering on what he said he would do. For the most part, his voters appreciate it. He secured the border that Joe Biden left wide open. He's following through in a big way with his promise of tariffs, okay? Trump's approval numbers have dropped since he took office, even when it comes to the economy, a traditionally strong category for him. So while Trump should not ignore the warning signs, she said, it is far from bad news 100 days in. Okay. And the only reason is because Americans are so impatient, folks. I'm telling you, the reason that some of these numbers reflect this, even with the accurate pollsters, and that those numbers have gone down, is because Americans are so impatient. They think gas should be $1.50 a gallon, eggs should be 99 cents, and if it hasn't happened, they're not dealing with the realities of what Trump was left with. Okay, when they had slaughtered 100 million chickens, do you guys realize this? Over 100 million chickens were slaughtered. You can't take that many egg layers out of production and expect prices not to go up dramatically. You all get that, right? I mean, you're smart enough as an audience to understand that. I mean, you take and drain the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And then the Biden regime was always saying, oh, well, we've got all these leases and they're just not being used. Why weren't those leases being used? Because they were the unproductive leases. The drilling companies want to drill on new productive ground because they couldn't make profit at the lower priced oil that was, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And furthermore, they hadn't, okay? They had actually reduced the number of leases. So this is a great piece. It actually came out of USA Today, of all places. It's just wild. Only 2%, here's the scoop, folks. Only 2% of Trump voters regret their choice and would vote differently. And do you know what that does? Still gives them the popular vote, still lets them carry all 7 swing states. Okay? Yeah, egg prices are coming down because more chickens are back online. This is basic economics, okay? Now, here's the big thing, folks. I want to share this piece with you because you need to know this when you're sharing with friends, okay? Tariffs and inflation, clarifying the convoluted. I want to know what percentage of people who voted for Kamala Harris regret their choice and would have voted for Trump. Let's see that number, because I know some. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell stated on April 16, 2025, that President Trump's tariffs would likely lead to higher rates of inflation. He made this claim before an audience at the Economic Club of Chicago. This somewhat gratuitous statement must be examined in light of sound economic theory. So the question is, folks, and you can answer this in the chat. I'm going to give you the answer here as I read on. But do tariffs actually cause inflation? That's the question we're asking right now. Do tariffs actually cause inflation? So let's first go into some basic economics. And this is on Real Clear Markets. It's by Timothy Nash, Anthony Storer, Thomas Raston, and Bob Thomas, okay? So, and they're going to reference Milton Friedman, okay? So if you don't know who Milton Friedman is, you should go read one of his books. Classic economics defines 3 primary sources of government funding: taxation, debt, and inflation, okay? To taxes to levy fees on income, sales, property, other activities to raise revenue. You guys get that? Second, borrowing enables the government to finance operations through future tax revenues. So they say, well, we're going to have these tax revenues in the future, so we're going to, borrow money now. Lastly, expansionary monetary policy, okay, may increase the money supply relative to output of goods and services, which will raise prices and reduce the currency's value. As Milton Friedman famously argued, this phenomenon is known as inflation. So Paul is saying one thing, man, he shouldn't even be the head of the the Federal Reserve should be dead. How many of you guys are for ending the Fed and going back to the gold standard? I am 100% for that. If you can take people's dollar and make it worth 86% less, over the course of 40 years. That's how you control people. I am gold standard all day long. This is why I promote gold and silver. It's why I promote Birch Gold, because I fully believe in owning gold and silver. I got Tilly again. My gosh, Tilly. I got to give you a heart again, because this is, there it is. There it is. I was waving, hold on, where's Tilly's comment? I was waving my phone with a flashlight on back from the north to our beloved President Trump. Tilly, are you at the rally? Were you at the rally in Michigan today? I mean, comment with how they, I'll see if I can catch some of the comments. But here, Powell, it's the balance sheet. The Fed has three means of fulfilling its dual mandate: changing the target short-term overnight rate. So when you guys hear that, you know, the rates increase 25 basis points, which is 0.25% or whatever, that is the overnight lending rate. That's what that is, okay? It doesn't mean home mortgages go up a quarter. Sometimes they'll go inverse. That's based off a completely different index, okay? So changing the target short-term overnight rate. They can also, number two, setting reserve requirements, or three, open market operations. Okay, so while changes to interest rates and reserve requirements influence borrowing and liquidity, the most potent tool recently has been the Fed's large-scale asset purchases in the open market. These purchases are financed with previously non-existent money. You guys get this? The money didn't exist, okay? I saw somebody say, I bought MyPillow sheets and towels. They're excellent. Yes, go check it out at mypillow.com/lumberjack. Big savings on the best sleep products available. Okay, while changes to interest rates and reserve, large-scale asset purchases on the open market. These purchases are financed with previously non-existent money, described in Latin as ex nihilo, or out of nothing. Like, literally, they're making money up out of thin air. When the Fed expands its balance sheet in this way, without a corresponding increase in the production of goods and services, that's how you get inflation. Okay? So listen to this. The expanding money supply. In February of 2020, the U.S. money supply stood at $4.1 trillion. By March, the COVID-19 pandemic had spread rapidly across the world. In a whirlwind of uncertainty, many businesses shut their doors, millions were laid off, and the U.S. economy fell into recession. Yurik, I saw that. Thank you. Okay. As a counter-cyclical measure, the Federal Reserve expanded the money supply. Get this, folks. You ready? Okay, so the money supply was 4.1 trillion. In 2 years, how much had the money supply expanded? Does anybody out there have a number? It went from 4.1 trillion. 2 years later, what was the U.S. money supply? Okay, I need to know. I got to get some guesses here. Lisa Kennedy, thank you. That's your first super on a live stream. Thank you, Lisa. 6.0, 7.1, more. I like that answer. Okay. 6.0. Guys, it's more. Troy, it's less than 10. $8.97 trillion. The monetary supply in 2 years had more than doubled. That's how you cause inflation. Not kidding. Okay. From 4.1 to 8.97 trillion. Another super from Tilly, watched on Barry Cunningham, but I'll support you. Thanks so much, Tilly. Consequently, U.S. inflation as measured by the CPI surged from 1.4% in January of 2021 to 9.1% by June of 2022 on an annualized basis. How many of you folks believe that inflation was only 9.1% in June of 2022? Seriously, how many of you actually believe that it was only 9.1%? In fact, how many of you experienced only 9.1% inflation? There's no way it was 9.1%. Okay? Yeah, sure was low in 2019. 2019 was one of the best years. It was just phenomenal. Okay? Because we didn't have inflation and Trump had created an economy that was set free, and we were able to actually make good money on top of our prices not going up. After several months of elevated inflation, the CPI began to decline as the Federal Reserve reduced its balance sheet by 2.24 trillion, bringing it down to 6.73 trillion as of mid-April 2025. Folks, America has a monetary policy or a monetary problem. From a fiscal perspective, the U.S. national debt surpassed 1 trillion for the first time in its then 205-year history. At the end of Reagan's first term in office in 1981, the deficit expanded significantly. By the close of the Clinton administration, the national debt had grown to 5.68 trillion. President Clinton achieved a budget surplus. So look, I was no Bill Clinton fan, but I am telling you, he was forced to work with the Republicans in Congress, and that was Newt Gingrich and the Contract for America, and it actually worked out really well. He did welfare reform. Do you guys remember this? He signed the welfare reform bill. Hillary Clinton was trying to push through nationalized health care, but was not able to. Bill Clinton wouldn't do it. Okay? So, I mean, the one thing Bill Clinton was, I know he was a snake in the grass, but at least he checked the polls and was a little bit more respondent to the voters. I mean, Joe Biden's administration didn't respond to voters at all. Every unpopular, if Joe Biden responded to voters in our will, we would have had a closed border. Everybody in America wanted a closed border, except for elite Democrats who understood that they were trying to buy elections in perpetuity. By the way, folks, do you know, I used to think it was only 15 seats. I read an article today, look through this. Get this, I want to see if any of you know how many seat advantage we should actually have in the United States House of Representatives if the census had been done correctly, and on top of that, illegal immigrants had not been included in the census. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this. So our congressional seats are apportioned based upon population. Okay? So they're counting the illegal immigrants in the census. Yeah. Thank you, Yurik. And thank you, Carrie. But so you guys get this? They count the illegals into the census. Now, they misappropriated seats even without that. 27 seats. Would we be having as much trouble getting Trump's agenda through with 27 more seats? It's freaking criminal. Criminal. That's why the border was wide open. Even if they aren't voting, they're still stealing your elections. Drives me nuts. So I wanted to get that out there because you're hearing a lot of lies on the inflation factor and the tariffs and all of this, and tariffs are causing the inflation. Tariffs will bring in revenue, okay? Yes, products may be more expensive based off the tariffs in the short term, but it's going to cause more manufacturing to come back to America, which it's done. Okay, even countries like Taiwan and companies out of Europe, they're all building plants here in America to avoid the tariffs. Donald Trump you got to have his back still, folks. And I know most of you do, but I mean, when you're out there in public and you're talking to people, defend the man. Don't stay quiet about it. Okay? I've given you a lot of good stuff here on this. Okay? But especially on this tariffs and inflation, you need to understand money supply. And they ballooned money supply. And that's why you have inflation. All right? Anyways, you guys are great. Yeah, I saw Mike was at the rally today. I know he was on a plane. He was on the plane last night to go to the rally. I wanted to get him on a live stream with us. But go support Mike Lindell at mypillow.com/lumberjack. Call the 800 number, 1-800-568-2865. And then I saw somebody comment that they hadn't received their order and it had been over 2 weeks. I'm going to give you guys the customer service number. MyPillow has the best customer service of anybody, okay? And they will always err on the side of the customer. So most people aren't receiving their orders behind. So this could be lost in transit shipping. It could be a number of different things. So if you're late on something, just call them 1-800-308-1299. They're all caught up on shipping. Okay, so If you're not getting something, you need to call. You don't call the My 800 number. You call the customer service 800 number for that stuff. It's 1-800-308-1299. Okay. So you should be getting orders in, I mean, initially, because we had such a large influx of orders, they did get behind a little, but they're caught up on those orders now. So if you haven't gotten an order, you need to give them a call. Oh, you bought your first sheets from MyPillow today? That's awesome, Douglas. By the way, those Giza sheets change your life, man. I'm serious. Just get yourself a pair. You'll never look back. No sheets compare to the Giza sheets. The Percale sheets are a phenomenal deal right now, $25. The Giza sheets, you're going to spend more money. But folks, you will sleep like a president because that's Donald Trump's favorite product. I got a super chat here I want to address. Let's see. Where is it? Let me get it up. It's from Immortal Legend. He said, even if costs go up, those costs will be discretionary spending. That's never talked about. Correct. Yeah, we're looking for inflation to come down on energy, on food. These are the things that don't get counted into the inflation index, okay? Those are the things that don't get counted in. So, healthcare, all these college tuition, all these things that they say they're too volatile, okay? That's folks where the savings are. We need that brought down. This is Trump's Main Street versus Wall Street battle. That's what's going on. They may tell you that Trump's all in for the rich, but that's not it, okay? That's not what it is. All right. He's there for middle America to raise America back up, okay? All right. Also, guys, go try some of Mike Lindell's Rev 7 energy drink. You can get 3 free cans and 30% off with the subscription. I worked out today. I had my apple flavor, and it was fantastic. And again, had just a great workout. This stuff gives you mental clarity, everything. I mean, I get a little brain fog in the afternoon. And I used to take a little sugar to activate the frontal lobe of the brain, but I don't want to eat a bunch of sugar. And I found that these ketones are just as good, if not better, actually probably better. And then I don't have any crash from it either. So anyways, folks, we'll see you on the next episode. Please subscribe if you're new, okay? And make sure to, turn those notifications on. I'll try to keep you up to date. I may be gone for a week coming up here. I don't know. But I'll still check in occasionally, even if I am. And we'll see you on the next episode, all right? Peace out.